This is Sarah Squires with today's edition of Waugh Today Newsroom. Today on the show, senior reporter Marit Gookin sits down with Kelly Waugh, Lander's new police chief. He's been serving as an interim chief since former Chief Scott Peters retired. Today, Waugh shares his background and law enforcement philosophy. Here's Chief Waugh.
So I think, I'm off mic. I mentioned to you that in all things considered, we truly do work a thankless job on a daily basis. Oftentimes, nobody wants the cops around, right? And I think it's important for people to understand that we're doing our duty and we truly do care. And teaching our guys and holding our guys to a standard of professionalism and empathy and working through things the best way we can professionally. They're all adults and they will tell you out loud that they don't want the flash, right? They don't want the acknowledgement, and they say that, but in reality, they don't mean it, right? Do they want it? Probably not, but it means the world to them that everybody sees they are appreciated, that they are commended for their actions, and I think important for our council and our mayor to see what we do every day and how hard our guys are working every single day. It's I often joke that we do something that's cool enough to be on cops maybe 4 times a year, right? But that's not the reality of policing. Is 24 hours a day. And we build a lot of strength in what I call building social capital, how we talk to people, how we treat people. Again, most of the time we're dealing with people on not their best day. And something I live by personally that I push through my staff is people have bad days and they're going to act somewhat out of character sometimes on their bad days in any given stance. But for me, it's, are you really having a bad day or are you having a bad 5 minutes that's allowing to ruin your whole day? And if we have an opportunity to have a great conversation with somebody on the side of the road, not in an enforcement scenario, to really just kind of bump them a little bit and pick up their day, that they have a better day, they had a great conversation, that in itself is worth gold in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think there is that negative perception and working to turn that around and make these positive connections with the community is huge. And I know you have a strong community focus. Chief Peters, before you, also put a lot of emphasis on making these inroads in the community and the culture. I think that's something that really speaks to the LPD and the efforts going on there that make it stand out as a great law enforcement agency.
Well, I appreciate that. I know I'm biased, but I still will stand here today. I'll tell you, I said at a council meeting, we have the best police department in the state of Wyoming, right? And I'm very, very blessed with the staff that I have. We have a great group of people. We have a great mix of people. I often joke with them that if I had all of you as an officer Tadwald, I probably wouldn't be in a good place. But if in the same turn, if I had everybody as an officer Parasini, I wouldn't be in a great place, right? And I have a great mix of people, a great spread of mindset, a great spread of strengths. We're working really hard on just unifying those things. I think the 2 corporals that were promoted, I think we're coming close to a year, honestly. They too are polar opposites, which is super cool to see. But they've completely embraced leaning on each other for both strengths and weaknesses, which is fun to watch, right? I transitioned in my career from being a street cop, a patrol deputy, and out and working and into the leadership and teaching side of it. And I related a lot to being a parent in the sense of watching them grow and watching them become successful is the most rewarding thing to me. So, yeah, I feel super blessed.
And I think you mentioned training, watching the staff grow. I think that's another thing that really makes the LPD stand out is this strong emphasis on training. And, some of your officers are now able to offer tips training to some of our local businesses. I think that educational component is a really cool thing that you guys are doing as well.
Oh, and I think you have to, right? Not only for community, if we as the city are pushing forward some regulations on some liquor license stuff, and one of our things is the mandating tips training, it only makes sense that if I have the ability to offer that training for free, that we do that, right? And that's how we build a bond between the business owners. The training side of it from the law enforcement side is, I'm starting to put a little bit heavier training on some of my subject matter expert instructors to build real life training. If you go through the history of police training, it's stand in front of a target, listen for a buzzer, make so many shots in so many amount of time, and that's not reality, right? That's not reality to what we do. God forbid if we do end up in a shooting or something like that on the side of the road, there is no buzzer, there is no timer, there is no paper target. And it's the same with our use of force stuff and our custody and control stuff. We don't get a 100% compliant guy that's going to stand there and let you cuff him and uncuff him and stand him up and kneel him to, right? So we're using, quite honestly, the training tool that I'm using right now is we're pulling our last 3 to 4 use of forces and rebuilding those scenarios in our training events and working through the scenarios of how we ended up where we were. Are we proper technique? Are we proper de-escalation? Is there different ways we can handle this? But it's a real life training that really applies to these guys. It becomes second nature, right, is the ultimate goal of if you're comfortable here, we've been sweaty and heated and with our own staff where you're ultimately safe, but it's not a foreign feeling to be geared up, tense, uncertain, and how do I work through it now, right? So my goal is that we work through those scenarios and trainings where you're safe and we can adjust. So when that time does come, you make good decisions quickly and you're confident and comfortable.
And I want to backtrack just a little bit because, I feel like I know you pretty well. I see you a couple times a month at city council meetings. Yeah. But for folks who don't attend every city council meeting and are curious about who our new chief is, do you want to maybe just sort of broadly introduce yourself and your background?
Man, there's a lot. So I'm about 21 years into law enforcement in Wyoming, and I started my career with the Johnson County Sheriff's Office based out of Buffalo as a detention officer and moved over to the patrol side. I did 10 years with the Johnson County Sheriff's Office. I transferred up to Sheridan. In my time in Sheridan, I was a police officer, a corporal, a sergeant, the tactical commander, the fleet manager, the DUI guy, FTO coordinator, like all the things, I guess, really. Spent some time as the investigation supervisor on call on the weekends and things like that. I took a short sabbatical from law enforcement. My son, I guess technically I'm still a single dad. He's 21 now, but I've had full custody of my son since he was 10 years old, and it was his senior year. He was very active in baseball and swimming, and his entire life I worked shift work, and I missed out on some things, and knowing that was his last year to be at home and some other things in my life that were going on, I took a little bit of time off and spent the year focused on my son and got him graduated from high school and out. He played NCAA Division II junior college baseball on the East Coast, which was super, super cool, and kind of got that all leveled out. So Chief Peters, to narrow down how I ended up in Lander, Chief Peters and myself went to the Wyoming Law Enforcement Academy together, believe it or not. And with that also, we were both DREs, the drug recognition experts. We both were DRE instructors, and we had traveled and taught across the nation for about 15 years together, and we became pretty good friends. And when he took over as the chief in Lander, honestly, that's when he started pushing on me to come to Lander, and and I had no interest. Obviously, my son was in high school, and I didn't want to flip his life upside down, etc. But all in all, how things kind of worked out is that I hit a juncture where I was ready for be back in law enforcement. My sabbatical just reinitiated the fire of my passion for law enforcement and my passion for what we do. The fact I feel like I have tons and tons left to give. I'm super young, and I believe that we can do this job, and we can do it honorably. We can do it professionally. We can do it by the book. And I want to give that, and I want to develop leaders, and I want to develop law enforcement officers, and so Peter's ultimately convinced me to apply and interview for his captain position. Is how I ended up in Lander. I'll be honest with you, when I agreed to come interview, I had not spent any time in Lander. Like everybody else in America, you hit the junction and you go right and left, right? And that was my life with Lander. So I spent about a week in Lander when I came up to interview for the captain position, and really the outdoors, the mountains, the fishing, those types of things, the small community. I decided that was a place that I could live. And, at my age, not that I'm that old, but I feel like when you get to my age, you start to look for the place, hey, this is where I could live forever and be okay with it, right? And I found that in Lander, just with the community size in the mountains. But being there 2.5 years now, there's a lot of great people in Lander. I've built some great friendships. It's just a super cool place, and to be given the opportunity to lead the police department in such a great community, to me is one of the absolute pinnacles of my career. Right? I feel blessed, and I love it there, and I got a great crew. We have a great council. We have a great mayor. All in all, things right now are super good for me. So that, in a nutshell, is how I've gotten here in my law enforcement world.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, we have someone who has both a lot of experience and a lot of law enforcement career ahead of them, potentially. I think that's a really great combination for Lander. And, also, you're so diligent about giving updates to the council, both about things that are going on broadly, but also, we talked about the officer commendations, and I think it's so great for the council to get to hear about the positive side of things that's going on in the community too.
Well, and I think, as you know, that's super important to me personally, the mental health wellness side of things that I've put a lot of work and money into this year. We've partnered with Responders Alliance on building some of that stuff for us. But also, I think it's important for people, if we go back to just somewhat can be the negative of police in general. I think it's important for people to see deep down what we really do every day. And that's one of, you've heard me talk about it. We're going to have the first Citizens Police Academy ever in Lander. And to me, that's huge. It's going to expose detail of all of our different entities within the police department, what we do, how we operate, how we function. Some of that is, one, my own knowledge, two, understanding people don't get it, but a couple of times that we've had staff on a light duty for whatever reason and spending some time there during the day and then what is referred to as the administrative hours, you get to hear them say, man, I had no idea that this amount of stuff goes on here every day. And if some of my own staff don't understand it, then there's no way everybody understands, right? The amount of work that goes in and day out. So I think it's important for, one, the council and the mayor, but two, the community to understand that we're a 24-hour operation and we're busy. And we're busy 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We don't get the weekends, the holidays, the luxuries of the normal job life per se. So I think it's important for them to understand that we're doing more than just driving around and pulling people over. And that's why I believe that the statistics at the end of the year of, self-initiated activity versus calls of service versus the amount of felonies that we worked, plus our completion, like case completion, the solvability rates of what we're doing, all of that is not just luck happenstance. It means we're working. means we're spending extra hours working, following up on cases, following up on video stuff. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it than people realize. And that's why I think it's important that we're pretty loud about this is where we are, this is what we're doing, this is why. And it helps all the elected official answers questions as well. So
Yeah. Well, sort of looking forward, I know you had some goals for the PD that, we've made some progress on. So there's the new handbook that the council has approved. This alcohol ordinance is in progress. As you sort of think about what happens next for the LPD, are there any short-term, long-term, pie-in-the-sky goals that you have?
I mean, there's a lot, Marit, and when I was interviewed, so through the process for the chief position, I had an oral board interview with WASCOP, which is the Wyoming Association of Sheriffs and Chiefs of Police, and then I had a second oral board interview with a local panel, and it was Councilman Larson asked me, Chief, how long do you think you're going to stick around? And my answer to him was, one, as long as they'll allow me to, right? Which is the easiest answer. I believe every day that I'm working myself out of a job. That's my goal. I want to teach and train and develop people underneath me to be better than I ever was. So the day that I feel like I'm in the way, it's time for me to get out of the way. And he asked me if you could put a number to that. And in my opinion, I told him at least 10 more years. I have that in me, but I think really when you're changing culture and you're changing direction, none of that happens in a day, a week, or a month. You just have to start building it and pushing it and reliving every day the accountability, the direction, the goals, to where that becomes the standard and the norm, and nothing less is accepted by the staff. And there's years of that, right? We had our one meeting with Responder Alliance with the supervisor staff for the occupational stress and some of that stuff. I'm scheduling a second presentation for them to come up and now talk to all the officers, the boots on the ground guys of these are normal things. The stress continuum is a normal thing. Where are you? It's okay to say out loud. The policy and procedure manual was huge, right? We gapped 15 years of policing. And that's still, I mean, the policy's set, the procedures are set, but one of the things I've done is I've kicked it out now, and the procedural side of it, we can modify accordingly without having to go in front of council. And so I have them in it now, giving their input of procedure-wise, and having that as a guideline for them. If you look at some of the staff, they're 12, 13, 14 years since they've been in any kind of formal training as far as procedures on specific things. And if you look at the Maverick Bar incident, right, that exposed so much internally for me as the chief of areas that we need to do better, areas that we did good. And it's hard that we don't have, thankfully, we don't have the volume of that we would be great at it. So that's not a bad thing, but there's just a lot of day-to-day development left, a lot of direction, a lot of from court testifying to how we handle people on the street to, I mean, there's just a lot left to where we have to start changing, being better at not becoming complacent, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot. I have a lot of goals, the structure internally, the succession planning. You've heard me say it. I want us to be 100% self-reliant always when we can be. Doesn't mean that we won't ask for help and we won't call for help, because we will. But in a worst-case scenario, we need to be able to do the things we need to do because of where we live. Sometimes we're hours from getting help, right? In a specialized sense of calling in an SRT team, or what people know as a SWAT team, that's a couple hours. And oftentimes we don't have a couple hours to wait. So we've got to be doing things like that. We're doing a lot of community stuff. We're doing the lunch and learn for the chamber coming up this month on some active shooter type training with business owners and what to expect when we come up, how we're going to appear, and when they see us with guns and things like that, not to be shocked, right? I mean, we have rules and things that we follow to respond, but also the information from them that we're going to want from them, right? What looks abnormal inside, or what does this look like, or where was this person? So just a lot of those types of things of really starting to bridge the gap with the community and working interhanded with the community on how we can all be better.
Yeah. I think as on that note of community stuff, since we've got this platform here,
Yeah, of course.
is there anything you would want the community to know about the LPD or about law enforcement in general?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been told a handful of times, honestly, in the last 10 or 11 months that I talk to more people than any prior chief ever did, that I return more phone calls. And I think what people need to understand, I'll reference one. I had a short conversation with a daycare owner one day of a potential suspicious person down by the Riverwalk. And they end up in this window of when to call the police and when not to. Is this the right time? It's really not an emergency, but the thing about it is just call us. Always call us. Let us be the determining factor of when we need to physically make a presence and when for no other reason. And you and I have talked about this before. People want to be heard, right? And that's what we're here for. We're here to hear you, and we're here to help you in any way that we can. I want people to be comfortable calling the LPD or coming to the LPD and talk to us and voice your concerns or ask us the questions that you don't have an answer to. That's what we're there for. And it builds relationships between us, down the line. I shared a story with you that I think building social capital, how we treat people, down the line, we could end up in an incident where we really need your full information and your full comfort to talk to us. And if we're professional and kind with you, you're more apt to talk to us, right? If we're more transparent in sharing with what we're doing, you're more apt to share with us. Law enforcement, yes, we're police officers. Yes, that's our job. But the reality of policing, especially in small communities, is it's a community thing. It takes all of us to police our communities and be the best moving forward, to make our communities safe, make people feel welcome, and enjoy our community for what it is. I mean, it's Lander. It's beautiful. We live in one of the greatest places in Wyoming.
I definitely agree. I think some of our listeners in other parts of the state might take some umbrage, but that's okay.
That's okay.
We can agree about it.
It's actually my friends in Sheridan that make the T-shirt that says "Wyoming isn't real." If you haven't ever seen those, and I wear those often when I leave Wyoming, and it's the joke behind it is we love it here and we love how it is. So please don't come figure us out because we don't want all the people here. Right? But, yeah, I mean, everybody has bias to their own community. Obviously, I'm from the other side of the mountain, that being the Bighorns, Buffalo, Sheridan area, most of my life and my career. But Lander's a hidden gem in my mind. We are on an island of a great community and a beautiful place to live, and I feel very, very fortunate to be there.
All right. Well, I think we'll end it on that note. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. I'm down anytime to chit-chat with the media.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Today's show is brought to you by Porter's Mountain View Supply. If you're looking for a better way to relax, especially after a long Wyoming day, stop by Porter's Mountain View Supply in Riverton. Porter's offers quality hot tubs built for comfort, durability, and year-round enjoyment. Whether you want a place to unwind, ease sore muscles, or spend time with family and friends, their team will help you find the hot tub that fits your space and your lifestyle. Porter's Mountain View Supply is known for friendly, knowledgeable service. They take the time to answer your questions and help you understand proper care and maintenance so you feel confident long after your purchase. Check out Porter's Mountain View Supply at 750 East Sunset Drive here in Riverton, or give them a call at 307-856-6066.